Well, what was that? It's the day after UFC 282. The card feels like two really different memories. At the bottom of the card, you have a bunch of finishes. Not really much to debate about. Judges not involved, which we're going to be talking about a lot. Fairly exciting fights. Fairly interesting fights. And then the co-main event and the main event, kind of on every level, kind of suck. One, you had weird judging. Two, you had weird fight IQ on display. Three, you had not the most exciting of fights. Not the most boring of fights. Not the worst fights. Neither of these fights belong on a worst fights list or anything like that. But not great. And not great post fights. So you're here with me, Mio, and we're going to break it down. We're going to see what happens and see if we agree, see if we don't agree, and where we can go from here. So, 205 title match. Light heavyweight title match. The vacated title after Yuri Prochazka vacated the title due to a shoulder injury. Glover Teixeira was supposed to be involved in this fight. Turned out he wasn't because they wanted him to fight Ankalaev. He wanted a couple of extra weeks to prep for such an opponent change because it would be a big deal. Like the similarities between Ankalaev and Prochazka are they're both Eastern European, and that's kind of where it ends. Like Ankalaev is a counter fighter with a strong wrestling base. Prochazka is a crazy berserker aggressive fighter who relies on physicality, power, athleticism to make it happen. So not remotely similar matchups. And Glover would have entirely fought Jan Błachowicz here on this night. And that was not presented as an option, I guess. So we get Jan versus Ankalaev, title on the line. So here's the thing. Essentially, this fight is in two halves. You have rounds 1 through 3, which are predominantly striking rounds. There was a takedown in them. Let me pull up the literal stats here. So in round 3, we had a takedown in about 86 seconds of top control for Magomed Ankalaev. But and there were 32 seconds of against the cage time in the second round. Essentially here, I scored all 3 of these rounds for Jan. Now, to be clear, I think only the second round has to go to Jan. Like, the second round is Jan landing notably more strikes, landing more devastating strikes, particularly to the legs. He had at various points Ankalaev on a slip and slide. That's how compromised his legs were. And that's the round that absolutely has to go to Jan. The first and third rounds are more toss-ups. I think that the Ankalaev has a better argument for the first round. My thoughts on this is that he landed better quality strikes in the first round. And Jan landed less. Jan's volume was second, third, first round. That's the order for his significant strikes landed. That's the order for his damage landed. And as a result, the third round kind of becomes the swing round in this whole fight. The fourth round is a 10-9 Ankalaev round. There's not really any other way to look at it. Jan landed... Well, I guess you could go 10-8. Like, I guess I'm forgetting that that Jan landed apparently 1 significant strike and 11 total strikes in that round. So actually, you could go 10-8 on both the fourth and the fifth round. They were both dominated by Ankalaev, 4 minutes and 32 seconds and 4 minutes and 50 seconds of top control, respectively. Not great ground and pound or anything. Not humongously damaging. But they were both rounds in which he outlanded him roughly 5-1. And significant strikes-wise, even worse, because in the fifth round, they don't even credit Jan with a significant strike. He had one significant strike over the 4th and the 5th round. So I guess you could go 10-8 on both of those. It's an interesting fight because someone on Twitter actually tried to say, because I had released my scorecard for Jan, 48-47, giving him the 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd round. And giving Ankalaev the 4th and the 5th. How can you watch those last 2 rounds and score the fight for Jan? Well, because it's scored round by round. That's the thing, is like, in no way do I think Jan Błachowicz should win this fight. In no way. Because his 3 rounds were won on, I'm holding my fingers really, really close together, probably about the distance of a cell phone charging cord, levels. That's how close they were. Except for the 2nd. I think the 2nd he definitely won. And the 4th and the 5th are incredibly one-sided, and had there been more damage done, I would have easily given 10-8s. And if you gave those rounds 10-8s, I don't have a problem. I have no problem. Błachowicz, truthfully speaking, did nothing in the 4th and the 5th round. Not terribly surprising. Cardio's been a problem of his in the past, and he was prepping for a 3-round fight, so it makes sense. But essentially, if Ankalaev had just... But that's the thing, is I don't believe Ankalaev really should have won the fight, because he fought incredibly stupid. It took him till late in the 2nd round to try to do any wrestling. And by that time, he had one leg heavily compromised by leg kicks. Which, by the way, led us to probably the worst commentary bit of the night in this fight. Actually, the commentary was really not on tonight. But the worst commentary bit on this fight, which was from Daniel Cormier. He can't take... Maybe this is why he didn't go for takedowns. He can't take Jan down. After, we've seen Ankalaev turned into a slip and slide already and clearly has, probably effed up his knees. Both his knees. And is going for takedowns and getting stuffed. And then in the 4th and 5th round, of course, we saw that, no, it was actually pretty easy still to get Jan down. And it was just bad. Let's talk about the judges' scorecards, because the judges were asked to render 2 scorecards on this night. In my opinion, they got them both wrong. I don't have a problem with the draw scorecard. I don't have a problem with Derek Cleary scoring the fight for Ankalaev. I don't have a problem with Michael Bell scoring the fight for Błachowicz. Michael Bell scored the fight as I did. That's obviously the one I'm most comfortable with. I have no problem, though, with Sal D'Amato's card. Sal D'Amato's card is rounds 1, 2, and 3 to Błachowicz. Round 4 is a 10-9. Round 5 is a 10-8. And a draw. Looking at the stats, I'm kind of wondering if I should watch rounds 4 and 5 again and figure out if actually having them both as 10-8s is really the only acceptable one, if there's going to be a 10-8 in there. But the card I would like to circle in on here is the Magomed Ankalaev 48-46 card by Derek Cleary. I don't think that the 48-46 is a problem. I can absolutely see 48-46 Ankalaev. But how that card would look would be a 10-8 5th round, a 10-9 4th round, and a 10-9 1st round. He gave the 3rd round to Ankalaev, and that's kind of the thing. And I talked to a bunch of people on Twitter, of course. There are a lot of people saying that the 3rd round should go to Ankalaev. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. It's a close round. My point is just that the 1st round, round 1, is, in my opinion, the round of the first 3 that can go to Ankalaev before. So if you're giving round 3 to Ankalaev, you're giving for the 1st round to Ankalaev. That's my opinion. And as a result, what we have here should have been a 49-45 card. In the end, I'm kind of happy that we got the split draw. The reason is essentially, I don't really think either deserved to win. I don't think Jan was ready for a 5-round fight. I don't think Jan realistically should be able to win this fight. He's 9 years older than his opponent. His opponent has a solid wrestling base that has always troubled him. And in Ankalaev's case, it took getting his legs kicked out for him to actually wrestle. It took him too long to reach the conclusion that the guy I'm fighting, who is a bad wrestler, who has been out-wrestled by Glover Teixeira, Patrick Cummings, and various others, should just be wrestled. And the post-fight, of course, was pretty terrible. Jan clearly believes that he lost this fight. His body language, his verbal conversation with Joe Rogan, his actions towards Ankalaev all indicate that he thinks he lost this fight, and I don't blame him for that. I would think I lost that fight too. And in the case of Ankalaev, he's just like, I don't get it. When I win. Which is, of course, pretty. Why do I not get the belt? Well, because the judges decided that you don't get the belt. And I don't think you definitely did get the belt. I really don't. I'm really happy with the split draw. I'm just not really happy with the fight. I'm not sure that I ever thought this fight was going to be absolute bonkers, particularly with the late notice change to 5 rounds. But at the same time, I did think it would be better than this. I thought that both guys would fight better than this, and they didn't. And I think it was made that much worse because we're going to talk about the Paddy Pimblett fight. And in fact, what we're going to do with the Paddy Pimblett fight, number one, I'm going to talk about the pre-fight stuff. Then we're going to watch the first round, because I think the first round is where my anger truthfully is, insofar as Paddy Pimblett versus Jared Gordon goes. Because I don't have a problem with however you scored the third round. The third round, in my opinion, was a 50-50 round that Gordon should have won, strictly applying the judging criteria. I don't think either of them did damage. They landed the exact same number of strikes, apparently. There was really no actual effective grappling in my estimation, and Gordon was controlling. It's the rare time where I do actually think that Gordon wins purely on control. Purely on control. And the second round, I thought Gordon was winning pretty much the whole time, but Pimblett had a really, really good last minute of round, which definitely could have churned some thoughts around. So I don't have a problem with Pimblett winning the second or the third round. I have a problem with Pimblett winning the first round. We're going to check this out, and we're going to see if I change my mind watching the round again. That's the plan. Now, let's talk about the pre-fight, and I'm going to get into the mongrel stuff. And I want to put it this way. If you do not wish, or do not believe, or whatever, believe that Paddy Pimblett meant some of the things he said to Ilia Topuria in a racial or xenophobic manner, that is between you and your conscience. I am simply going to say that it can be taken in that light. That it can be taken in that context. The word mongrel has been used as an insult towards someone's genetic purity, racial makeup, etc. That is what the word in a classical sense is. I've been told that in Australia, it's not used that way. It's just simply used as a synonym for dog. I don't know. I'm not Australian. I can't tell you the truth of that. I am told in Liverpool that it may be used as a similar thing. This is the problem to me, though, is that in the very context he said it. You're a Georgian. You were born in Germany. You live in Spain. You're a little mongrel. I'm not really sure how you can take that other than to further Paddy's. And this is the thing. This is not a fighter with no history of xenophobia saying this. No history of inflammatory statements towards a fighter's religion, nationality, home country. Because if you go back into Paddy Pimblett's history and you watch interviews where he talked about Marcin Roshik when they were talking about that possibly being a fight in Cage Warriors, he went pretty xenophobic, anti-Polish. If you look at his fight, if you look at his trash talk leading up to the Nadine Narmani Cage Warriors fight, again, things get kind of xenophobic, which is, of course, ironic because Narmani, as far as I know, is Iranian heritage, but has, in fact, lived his entire life in the UK. And actually speaks English perfectly fine, which seems to be Paddy's big objection to people. But even that got charged. He's now doing it with Topuria, a Georgian fighter living in Spain. He's also had actually public Twitter feuds, which are, I think, gone now because of the fact that he got banned from Twitter a couple of times with Liana Jojua and Diana Belbita, who are... Jojua is a Georgian fighter. Belbita is a Canadian fighter, but one who is from Romania or Moldova. I should have looked that up beforehand. I know it's Romanian. Yeah, Romanian mixed martial artist. She was born in Romania, Drobeta Turin Severin, and actually fights out of not too far from me, Stony Creek, Canada. But he had like pretty anti-immigration squashes with them. And of course, this is my opinion. And this goes for any English fighter, Australian fighter, American fighter, Canadian fighter, Scottish fighter, Irish fighter, whatever. Countries that speak English as a first language. If you are going to resort to yelling, speak English to somebody who is speaking English in a fifth language and doing it reasonably like Topuria is hard to understand, don't get me wrong. It is broken English for sure, but he is a guy who speaks Georgian, has given interviews in Georgian, speaks Russian, has given interviews in Russian, speaks German, has given interviews in German, speaks Spanish, and has given interviews in Spanish as well as English. I don't expect him to be a master of trash talk. I don't know why anyone does. I don't know why anyone's like, Paddy Pimblett 10-7'd him right there in the verbal exchange, man. I would hope so. Is that not like the expectation? I would expect myself to be able to 10-7 Ilia Topuria speaking English, which is the English I use day to day to day to day and have for most of my life. Versus a guy who is on not English second language, because people are like, he's ESL. No, ESL is English second language. This is English fifth language. This is English. This is EFL. This is English fifth language we're talking about here. And there's just no win. It's and don't get me wrong here. And there's the other thing. People are like, oh, he's just trying to hype up a fight with Topuria. It's a fight he doesn't want. It's a fight that he has publicly turned down. Now, people are like, you can't turn down a fight that's never offered by the promotion. True, we don't know if the UFC has ever offered Ilia Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett. I suspect that they haven't, because Topuria is predominantly a featherweight. Pimblett has been, under the UFC banner, a lightweight. But there was a brief crossover time where that might have been offered. But he has taken to social media way back when, jumping in the Wayback Machine here. He has taken to social media to refuse the fight. And it's a fight that he shouldn't want. Because here's the thing. I just said it. It is a featherweight versus a lightweight. It is a fight that I would pick Topuria to win. But even if you, a Paddy Pimblett fan, believes that Paddy Pimblett would win that fight, so what? He ends up beating a guy a weight class below him, much shorter than him, and to be honest, at this point, much lighter than him. Because if you watch Paddy's featherweight fights, because he used to fight at featherweight, and that's the thing that people have been bringing up in regards to me saying he's big. If you look at his thighs now, and his hips, and the weight he's carrying there now, there is no way he can make 145 anymore. There is no way. He is, because all that like ballooning up between fights has made him a definitive lightweight. All right, let's talk about the fight now. And what we're going to do is we are going to watch round 1 of this fight. Now, you will not get the volume. I've got the volume on. Just making sure I'm not giving you any volume. Yes, correct, because I got it muted. So I'm at the Bruce Buffer introduction. Probably should have lined this up more with the start of the fight, but we're getting the intros here. We just got to the end now for Bruce Buffer. UFC lightweight division. Blue corner is Jared Gordon. 5'9", 155.5 pounds at weigh-in. Fighting out of Astoria, New York. I don't think that's true anymore. He's fighting out of Florida, I think, at this point. Because I think they said he's with Killcliff. Yeah, he is. I see Killcliff glass in this corner. Yeah, so he's out of Killcliff now, not his previous association with Renzo Gracie. Big crowd reaction for Paddy Pimblett, 5'10", 156 pounds at weigh-in. Came in as a minus 250 favorite here. That's what they got listed here. You could have got him at as high as minus 278, I think, at close. Which, by the way, was way too long. Way too wide of odds. Okay. Crowd shots. Everyone's got the Paddy wigs out. The ridiculously big parlay by DraftKings is being shown, where somebody has Jared Gordon as part of it. I don't think that... it was still alive at this point because, of course, Santiago Ponzinibbio picked up a third-round knockout over Alex Morono, and we'll talk about that after this. So here we go. Nothing being thrown yet. Exchange of kicks. I'd say Paddy got the better of that because he knocked Gordon off balance. Flurry by Paddy, but nothing lands. Literally nothing lands. It's all to the arms. Most of it even landing short of that. Another leg kick landed there by Paddy, so... Paddy winning so far. Gordon hasn't really gotten anything going. Head kick blocked by Gordon. Gordon throws a really stupid front kick that doesn't really land. A flurry back from Paddy, but right there, the right hook lands big ways for Gordon. Leg kick exchange, 1-for-1 again. You could say Paddy is still winning at this point. Gordon, though, had that big right hand. There's another big right hand. Now, the right hook by Gordon is going to be the defining thing to me. 2-punch combo to the body by Gordon. He's starting to turn it around now, starting to get it going. More body work there. Left hook to the body, right straight to the body. Blocks a jab. Paddy's throwing a jab and probing out with kicks, but they're not landing. Again, another leg kick exchange. I will say Paddy is getting the better of the leg kick exchanges. He's way, way harder. Jumping kick by Paddy doesn't land. He also had a 1-2 combo there that landed short. Leg kick by Gordon. Nothing much on it. Gordon's leg kicks in general don't have much on them. I think that can probably be said. Another leg kick by Gordon. Leg kick by Paddy. Not much on that one. And that actually is a statement because Paddy's leg kicks actually in this fight were pretty good. That one there was not, though. Another right hook lands for Gordon in that exchange. And he flurries up against Paddy against the cage. Gets some good shots in. I'd say, again, another good right hook to the chin. Leg kick exchange. That was just really, really awkward because they kicked each other's kicking leg. And again, another big one there. That's another big right hook upstairs by Jared Gordon. That's his best punch. He needs to go back to that a lot. Paddy tries to go to the body. Doesn't work. Lands a leg kick. Eats a left hook in response. Again, not... Paddy with a good flurry there, and I think an uppercut landed pretty solidly. But again, not a lot there. Not a lot there. Again, it's a lot of it hitting the guard of Gordon. Gordon flurries again, gets 2 pretty good clubbing blows there. Like bad form, but like pretty powerful. 1 to each side of Paddy's head. Just kind of pushes Paddy into the cage there, but nothing really landed. Another leg kick exchange. Again, very awkward because, again, they kicked each other's kicking leg. 2 minutes to go at this point. Minute 55. Switch kick by Paddy lands pretty good. He has a 1-2 combo that follows up. That's not bad. Pawing out hook does not land. That was blocked fully. Body kick by Paddy Pimblett. Switch kick. That looks pretty good. Like, I think the problem is that Paddy has like a lot of very flashy offense with the switch kicks. Good exchange there. Basically, Paddy landing a 2-punch combo. Gordon following up with 2-punch combo. Gordon putting on a little bit of pressure. Again, Gordon covering up well. Another good right hook by Gordon. Another good 2-piece combo by Gordon there. 1 to the body. Lead hand to the body. Right hand upstairs. Leg kick by Paddy. Leg kick by Paddy again. Or by Gordon, pardon me. Paddy with a high kick that doesn't land. Couple of body shots there by Gordon. 2 of them to be specific. Another good hook. Gordon does stumble there. And the video decided to cut out with like 50 seconds to go. Damn you, Fight Pass. Let me just reload this up real quick. There we go. Okay. 52 seconds to go. 50 seconds to go. Gordon goes for a takedown. Doesn't get it. So I'm going to pause it here real quick. They have the punch stats up here. 10 upstairs for both guys. 10 to the body for Gordon. 2 to the body for Pimblett. Gordon has more leg kicks landed at this point. 8 to 7. That being said, I will say this. Paddy has like 3 really, really good leg kicks landed of the 7. And Gordon's leg kicks are all pretty poor. Like, there's a couple of awkward ones where he kicks Paddy's lead leg, but those are like 50-50. Like, they're both really awkward. They both stumble off of them. So, like, the leg kick domain, despite landing less, that's Paddy's. But he's getting outworked to the body. And I don't even think that the 10-10 to the head is actually all that accurate. It feels like Gordon's landed more. It feels like Paddy's landed less than that. But, like, I have Gordon up right now. This is 43 seconds to go in the round, so there's time. But I have Gordon up at this point. He's landed, to the head, he's landed the only significant strikes. That right hook has been the biggest difference maker upstairs. He's outworked Paddy to the body. He's outworked him to the legs, although, again, I do think Paddy has won the leg war. And let's keep going. Another good lead hook there by Gordon, but he ate one in return. Check hook by Paddy. Gordon with a hook. Paddy with the takedown, but he ends up on bottom with 20-something seconds to go. Gordon lands a pretty good drop forearm. Paddy trying to go up high for, I guess it'd probably be like ideally a triangle or an armbar. A little bit of rubber guard. Gordon landing some upstairs hooks. A couple of rib roasters there at the end. 1 elbow by Paddy. A couple of hammer fists by Gordon. And that's the round. So I look at that and I have to give that to Gordon. He landed more. He landed the quality. Because I think all of the punches that had visible effect of knocking the opponent backwards were all Gordon's, specifically the right hook. I wish he would have thrown it more, so I will critique Gordon here. On a fight IQ level, 1, I think that exchanging low kicks with Paddy quickly became a pretty bad idea. 2, that he really should have doubled up on the hook and landed more of them and really taken the round over, because I think the option was there. Now, if we watch the second round, we're going to watch the second round. I'm not going to watch the third, because the third was painful. I'm not watching the third round. And also, I have no preference on the third round. That can go any way you want. Nothing happened. It was a push-up against the clinch war. Let's take a look at the second round of this fight, because my problem with the judges giving this fight to Paddy is that they gave him the first 2 rounds, and they actually gave Gordon the third, which was Gordon's worst round, in my opinion. The round he got no damage done, no real activity done. That was the round that they didn't give Paddy. Listening to the corner advice. Paddy with a really insecure, like, I'm winning, right? And I would have told him no. I would have told him no. Like, Paddy's corner isn't much his fault for this fight because Paddy was under the impression he was winning the entire time and even said that he took the third round off in the post-fight. We'll talk about the post-fight more later. But that was his thing. Not much there. Okay. So here we go. Round number 2. Pimblett opens up with a low kick. Not really much there. Pawing out there with the jab, but it's not landing. It's coming up short. Like Paddy's ability to gauge range has always been kind of poor on straight punches. Throws a high kick, doesn't land. That was off the forearm. Throws a big overhand, doesn't land. That was off the forearm again. Low kick by Paddy. That does land. So Paddy winning so far on the basis of Gordon not doing anything. Gordon with a low kick and a T-kick to the body. Paddy tries to respond. That might have landed. I'm not sure. That one did. He threw another one. Hit a head kick. Gordon comes inside, lands a good left hand. Body kick by Paddy. Gordon with a overhand response. Push kick by Paddy. Gordon landed a good left hand there, but 8-1 in exchange. Low kick by Gordon. They have the 6 strikes up. Gordon up 36-27, apparently. Again, I don't necessarily trust those numbers, but when they pop them up, I will comment. Body shot by Gordon. Slips a jab, lands a low kick. Paddy with a low kick. Gordon with a little flurry there. 3 punches. Hit one good one to the body there. Hit a double jab there, but I don't think the second one really landed. First one did land upstairs, though. Good left hand by Gordon as well. Paddy throwing hard. I think that right hand did get around the guard. Landed a body shot. Gordon with a 3-punch combo. Needed the body. Goes for the takedown. I didn't like this live. I thought that engaging Paddy in a grappling game was not going to be a good idea. Paddy going for a... I don't know what to describe this choke as. It's essentially a rear naked choke from the front. Takes Paddy down. He's going for it. Now, I'm going to pause here for a sec because I want to put my thoughts in order. I don't think this choke was all that close. And of course, this obviously depends. This obviously is a big deal in the round because we're talking about damage. We're talking about damage is the primary criteria for scoring this fight, obviously. And it doesn't look good. You got Paddy applying this choke. You got Gordon with a little bit of blood flowing across his forehead. Not really sure where that blood is from. I haven't really noticed a cut. But at the same time, have you ever seen this kind of choke work? Realistically. Like it's a brute force Darce choke, essentially, without any of the positioning that makes a Darce choke work. I'm going to take a quick beverage here. And we have 2 minutes and 52 seconds left in the round. So let's hit play again. Okay, so Gordon starts to get the back position here at this point because Paddy's released the choke. He gets to the cage, manages to stand up. Couple of dirty boxing exchanges there. Couple of knees to the leg by Gordon. Paddy is now punching the opposite side ear with his left hand. Knee to the body by Paddy. Gordon's still landing basically that just like thumping knee to the knee and the thigh. Gordon or Pimblett with a knee to the upstairs. Gordon working for the takedown. He's got Paddy partially elevated at this point. Gives up on it. More or less 50-50 clinch exchanges here. Gordon had a not bad, like kind of like reaching uppercut there. That worked pretty well. He did it again. Creates a little bit of space. Unloads. Hurts Paddy quite badly. Paddy circles away though. Paddy responding with his own punches. Good right hand lands for Paddy. Gordon with a good counter hook, but Paddy did land a solid right straight of his own there. Paddy, again, not finding his range, though. Like, a lot of this is landing short, particularly the kicks. Gordon trying to walk him down. Lands a low kick. Low kick by Paddy, but Gordon finds a right hand over the top. Good uppercut, or I don't know what to call it, like an upper hook by Gordon lands there. And we're back into a clinch along the cage with about a minute to go. This is a closer round than I remember it live. I will freely admit that maybe I don't deny anti-Paddy bias. I just would like to point out that I have only once ever picked against Paddy to lose. And it was the Soren Bach fight. And he did lose that fight. So the only losses I have on Paddy Pimblett fights are when he loses and I picked him to win. So I think I'm unbiased enough to recognize when Paddy's doing a good job. 35 seconds to go. Paddy unloads. All right, so this is the big flurry by Paddy. And from this point onwards, this round is Paddy's. Lands a high kick. Gordon is firing back. He lands a pretty reasonable left overhand there. And a decent jab there. Paddy pokes him in the eye. And we get a break here with 14 seconds to go. But that exchange was Paddy's. He landed a big kick upstairs. Couple of big and powerful looking punches. Herb Dean warns him about the fingers. Because, of course, we have to give about 900,000 warnings about poking someone in the eye. And this is not an anti-Paddy statement. This is a statement about eye pokes in general. I hate the fact that you get this many warnings to eye poke a guy. Here we go. Gordon initiates there, but Paddy lands a good two-piece. Has a good right hand of his own. Scissor kick to the body, didn't really do much. Paddy with a good, 3-4 punch flurry at the end. So that's 2 rounds of Paddy versus Gordon. And at this point, I still am strong in the idea that Gordon won the first round. And here's the thing. If you're sitting at home and you scored round 1 for Paddy, then I think you're scoring all the rounds for Paddy. It's almost kind of like the Ankalaev situation with the third round. It's not that I can't squint at it and look at it as Paddy winning that round. It's that Gordon's best round is the first round. It's that Gordon achieved the most in the first round. He landed the most in that round. And I'm right on that. Of all the rounds, Gordon landed the most significant strikes in round 1 and also landed the most total strikes in round 1. That he landed all the fight. Paddy did land apparently 47 strikes in the second round. I'm not sure I counted that high, honestly, but okay, let's go with it. That is the round that I think Paddy did the worst in and lost. I have no problem with Paddy winning the third because I have no problem with either of them winning the third. I've come around a bit more on it because I had thought that Gordon was more in charge for the first 4 minutes of that round. And watching it again, it's not the case. So I'm coming around on the idea that Paddy maybe won the fight. But I am coming around on the idea that he won the fight with the Chris Lee scorecard, where Pimblett wins the second and the third. I still think Ron McCarthy and Douglas Crosby are on the drugs. And to be honest, I don't trust a Douglas Crosby decision at all. At this point, if I were to score a fight the same as Douglas Crosby, I would second guess my own scorecard. That's how bad it is. And then after the fight, Joe Rogan comes in, after he's won a unanimous decision, asks him, super close fight. And Paddy's like, nah, not even close. I knew I was up 2 rounds. I just coasted in the third round. What about fight of the night? This was the worst fight of the night. Up until this point. You could argue maybe it was better than Ankalaev and Błachowicz, which was yet to come. But this was not fight of the night, and this was absolutely close. So, Paddy the Baddy, post-fight delusion. I mean, I guess that's his brand. I guess it is. Because, I mean, his fan base still thinks... I shouldn't say that. A part of his fan base seems to appreciate Paddy for what he is, which is that they find him entertaining and that he's an action fighter and that he'll never win UFC gold. And to those fans, I don't really have anything to say. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. But there's a portion of the fan base, and this is true of almost every fighter. I always see this is that like MMA fans feel this need to think that not only do I like this fighter, but this fighter is the best. And the same with like, I don't like this fighter. He has to be bad at fighting. And that's the thing is like, there are a lot of fighters I dislike for a lot of different reasons. John Jones, Rampage Jackson, Paddy Pimblett, Colby Covington, Alexander Emelianenko, Amar Sulev, although admittedly entirely after his career and into his later life. Lee Murray, guys who are like guilty of the East brothers, guys who are guilty of like any heinous crimes in MMA or had just wrong opinions on life, in my opinion. Like, I dislike them all, but I don't think that everyone can beat them up, I guess is what it comes down to. Like, John Jones is the best example where, like, I believe John Jones is the best 205er in history. I believe John Jones might actually be the greatest fighter. He is a legitimate GOAT candidate. But he's also, like, GOAT candidate for shitbag. Like, they're not mutually exclusive. And I don't know. I feel like that's kind of the thing with Paddy. You could be a fan of Paddy and think that he's not very good. You could also hate Paddy and think that he's actually a reasonably good fighter. Like, they're not mutually exclusive. I thought Gordon won. I picked Paddy to win this. Like, and to be clear, I'm trying to argue that my 0-loss prediction card shouldn't be a 0-loss prediction card because I went 11-0-1 on predictions as they stand on this card. I picked Paddy. I picked Ankalaev. I thought Ankalaev lost, although I am entirely fine with him winning, and I thought Paddy lost. Let's move on to a happier fight. Santiago Ponzinibbio, Alex Morono. Morono good. Morono like really, 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 really good. He was working in some nice overhand rights. He was working in some counters. He was working in some spinning back fists, which is like not very Morono. But by the second round, he clearly did have kind of a messed up leg. And it was affecting his mobility. He was still doing stuff. He was still throwing kicks. He threw like a big switch kick that did miss. He was getting outworked to the body, which is unusual for him. But then he got knocked out in the third round. And the irony is that he did rock Ponzinibbio in the third round, ironically, before getting knocked out. It was a masterful display by Morono, but he lost. And I can only tip my hat to him. It was a way better fight than I was expecting. 5 days notice. Morono's a guy who loves prep time. He did a miraculous job. He was easily up 2-0. I think one judge had it 1 round apiece, but he had it. And then we had the Duplessis versus Darren Till fight. Round 1, Duplessis comes out, takes Till down, just absolutely mauls him and beats him down. Like, it would have been a 10-8 round had Till not gotten to his feet at the end and started finally throwing some shots because Duplessis was clearly very tired. But it turns out he was just Duplessis tired, which is, I still have a second wind. Because while Till won the second round, basically being able to pick apart a guy who, again, was really, really tired, but like also being incredibly easy to take down. And like, I don't think I'll be picking Till ever again. I to be honest, I have not been a big believer in Till since he debuted in the UFC. I've always thought that the hype far outstretched his actual talents as a fighter. I don't know what it is, but people like love. Maybe it's the English, the assortment of British accents, the sort of gift of gab that they seem to have that like leads to like this overrating. I don't know, but I've always thought that he gets way too much credit. Like for example, they stated that Alex Morono's biggest win was Donald Cerrone in the fight with Ponzinibbio, almost as a dismissive thing. And it should be because he beat an absolute shell of Cerrone. But they're also like, Darren Till needs to get back to the form that saw him beat Donald Cerrone, and guys, that's the same fighter. You were using that as Ponzinibbio's way higher than Morono's ever been to, but you believe that Till's win over Cerrone means anything when he's fighting at 185. I don't get it. And then the third round takes him down, and there was a weird kind of leg lock thing going on at the end of the second round. But anyways, sloppy exchange in the third round, low blow by Till. I'm surprised Du Plessis didn't milk, or low blow on Till. I'm surprised he didn't milk it. There was a low blow or an eye poke. I'm trying to remember which. Eye poke. There we go. Eye poke in the second round that Du Plessis surprisingly didn't milk. And then eventually Till just gives up his back and gets tapped. Du Plessis is still a horrible mess, but my God, that was entertaining. Ilia Topuria kind of really did his thing against Bryce Mitchell. He won the first round, I thought. His stand-up looked much fresher, much cleaner, much more powerful. Mitchell had a hard time doing really anything with his wrestling or really getting anything going. He did land some cool kicks. There were some things, but he also got his leg messed up by a low kick that forced him to switch stances a couple of times. There was a bad John Anik moment in the second round where Mitchell shoots from halfway across the cage, and he's like, "That's a pretty good shot from Bryce Mitchell." It's like, no, it wasn't. It had good form, but it was from way too far away and way too off. Topuria stuffed it like no one's business. The only thing I will say in negativity to Topuria from this performance is he eventually gets the win with an arm triangle. He goes headhunter a lot. His best moments were when he was mixing it up with Mitchell, where he had multiple targets in mind. When he got focused on just hitting Mitchell in the head, that was where his striking kind of fell apart a little bit, and Mitchell was able to get a lot done. A lot of his better stuff was done at that point, and it's something Topuria's gotten in trouble with before, because when Topuria starts just headhunting, he telegraphs a lot of stuff. It's easier to avoid, it's easier to deal with, it's easier to counter. But at the same time, this was a masterful performance. Dude is a top 10 featherweight. And I'm not giving a lot of future opponents off of this card because I knew I was going to go through 10 minutes of Paddy Pimblett's fight. And there just wasn't going to be a lot of time. But I would love to see him fight Movsar Evloev. Jay Perron versus Raul Rosas Jr. Raul Rosas Jr. made short work of him, clinches him, takes it back, rear naked choke. There's not much else. The only thing I would say that Rosas failed on was the 50 G's Dana comment. Because, and this is the thing. It makes the sport look quite bad when fighters are begging for 50 G's. When that's in any other sport, not a lot of money. But more specifically, because the fighters shouldn't care about making the sport look good. It's 50 G's is a lot of money, so therefore that is the case. But has it ever worked? Has anyone ever put together a spreadsheet of the 50 G's data callouts and how often they actually work? I don't think so. I don't think it works. I don't think it the callouts I think have actually worked is the Mirko Krokop style of saying, Mr. Dana White, let's not be stingy. Let's make the bonuses happen. And that was after I think the Devin Clark fight. Not Devin Clark. Pat Barry fight. Pardon me. And then the second way is, of course, Moicano wants money. Sort of thing where it's not asking, it's a demand. Jairzinho Rosenstruck rolled over Chris Daukaus. I don't have much to say about it. I'm saddened by it because I know Daukaus is dealing with a lot of mental problems right now. We're talking suicidal thoughts, so it's never good to see him get run over. But at the same time, he's above his ceiling. He's above the ceiling I thought he had the whole time. Fighting guys in the top 15 is, he just doesn't have anything for them. And that's kind of it. Edmund Shabazian beat Dalcia Lungiambula. It was a pretty decent fight. Round one was 50-50, I gave it to Edmund. But Edmund looked pretty good. The only thing I will say is that Edmund started getting really frustrated when he... I'm not sure what started it, whether it was a low blow or an eye poke. He did eventually get hit in the cup. But, like, he was frustrated before that with, like, Lungiambula's dirty tactics, I guess. And you just can't do that. Because it broke down his form and everything. It was the best moment of Lungiambula's fight with him. Was doing that. And low light of the commentary, talking about how much Dolce Lungiambula looks like Herschel Walker, and talking about Herschel Walker when he should be disappearing from the collective consciousness because he lost and was just this is not a political thing. If you're a Republican, I disagree with you on a lot of things, but the problem with Herschel Walker was nothing to do with his policies and everything to do with the fact that he was clearly suffering from CET. He clearly is a hypocrite because he's advocating for all kinds of things that outlawing all kinds of things that he himself did. He's playing the good family man, the good father, while he has wedlock children that he has nothing to do with, and he paid for abortions. That's the thing. It's not even the critique of the Republican stance on any of this. It's a critique of Herschel Walker as a political candidate. To be honest, it's also a critique of almost every idea of having a professional athlete as a political candidate. It's stupid. Can we stop doing that? There are maybe some exceptions, some guy who went to Harvard or Yale or something and decided to play professional, whatever, cool, fine. Maybe they have an eloquence to them, a thoughtfulness that makes me trust them. But no. Chris Curtis knocked out Joaquin Buckley while largely letting Buckley do whatever he wanted for most of the fight. But hey, Chris Curtis has really good counter instincts. This is kind of what I thought, is that Buckley at some point becomes really predictable. He flatlined him. Billy Quarantillo beat Alexander Hernandez with a second round tap out, or a TKO, pardon me. I really wish it was a sub. But I'll talk less about this fight. It's a good fight. Go back and watch it. If you missed it, it's a really good fight. But at the same time, to me, I thought that the commentary and the social media around this fight was dumb. Because in the first round, people are talking about, oh my lord, Hernandez looks so good. This drop to 145, it really reinvigorates Alexander Hernandez. It lets him be the bigger man. It lets him be the stronger man. The problem with Alexander Hernandez is he's been the bigger man. He's been the stronger man in a lot of the fights he's lost, including this one. Going down in weight class may actually be a good idea. He's only 5'9". It does seem like that frame would fit 145, way more. It does feel like he will be the bigger man more often. It does feel like he'll be the stronger man more often. The problem is the exact same, though, is that he has the same basic power entries to every striking exchange. He has the same basic entries into every grappling exchange. And at some point, a more diverse, more nuanced, more skilled fighter, regardless of physical discrepancies, is going to start just hitting him. And hitting him really, 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 really hard. And he also gasses. He ran out of gas in this one. Maybe that's just first time going down to 145 jitters, but I think he gassed at lightweight a couple times too. My negativeness of this is that if you're thinking that Alexander Hernandez or a fighter with his skill set just going down a weight class fixes things, it doesn't. He'll win fights here. He'll win fights at 145. But he's going to lose fights. He's going to lose fights against anyone who doesn't rely on just level 1 offense. That has a counter instinct, that has adaptability, that has an ability to make him go into deep, deep waters. And Quarantillo is perfect for that. He's the king of that. But I think there are a lot of other people that can do it as well. Hernandez's problem is he's a great athlete for MMA and a bad fighter. Everything he does, it's physically based. It's not based in deep technique. It's not based on an understanding of defense. And that's it. He's the opposite of Billy Q. Billy Q is the fighter lacking physicality. Hernandez is the fighter lacking a brain. And it's weird because they talk about how like philosophical he is, how smart he is, and he might be. But he hasn't applied any of that to his actual fighting game. Eric Silva had some good moments against TJ Brown, but his deficiencies as a defensive striker were put on display. His deficiencies in deep grappling exchanges were put on display. And it's kind of what I thought. Like, you have a 35-year-old, really athletic guy coming from a very raw region. And he's a guy who, like Hernandez, but even worse so, just doesn't actually have the skill set to compete here. And TJ Brown, who played the role of Billy Quarantillo in this fight, doesn't have the physicality to really get very high. He's going to headbutt a ceiling again and again and again. But he was able to get the job done here. Got taken down a bunch. Got worked a little bit. But I thought he won both rounds, and he got the submission in the third round with an arm triangle. Cameron Simon, Stephen Kozlow is a fight that you have to wonder if it should have just been brought to an end after that illegal knee that Simon hit. Lost a point in the second round for that illegal knee. I thought Simon was winning for the most part. Kozlow would get takedowns and was unable to actually hold position. He lost mount position, back mount multiple times. Simon also lost a lot of positions as well. Like, neither of these guys could control the other. I think the difference, though, is that like Kozlow has no real striking game to fall back on. Also, probably has a Nazi tattoo on his heel. I know that the close-ups basically revealed it's like the original swastika, basically the good luck symbol. But or that it might have been from like an anime or something. I don't know the anime in question. But guys, it's 2022. If you get a tattoo that looks remotely like a swastika at long range, remotely, don't get it. There's the free advice. Don't get it. Get something else from the anime, or get another good luck symbol or something. I don't know. Like they're like Byron, who I watched the fights with, was like there's a bit from like that is based in like the 1930s when Hitler's coming up, where it's like someone has a Hitler mustache and his work is like, you got to shave that mustache. He's like, but I had it first. And it's like, you know what? You don't even have that now, because like Hitler was a 1930s, 1940s thing, guys. Like none of these MMA fighters were alive at a time when the swastika or the Hitler stash wasn't associated with fascism. I'm not advocating, much like with Paddy Pimblett, I'm not advocating for Kozlow to get cut or anything. I said the same thing when KGB Lee's husband had the Nazi tats. That like my problem with KGB Lee's husband had nothing to do with his Nazi tattoos. It had to do with the fact that he behaved like an asshole. Like, that's the difference. Whereas like at least Kozlow seems like a cool dude, but like it also wouldn't surprise me if we get some real hard right leaning stuff from him at some point. That becomes really problematic. Anyway, Simon gets a TKO in the third round. I don't have high hopes for him. Like, he's young enough to fix everything I'm about to list. But the dude has no defensive wrestling, as far as I can tell. The dude has no ability to hold a top position. He's got fast kicks. I like his footwork. I like the speed of his kicks. But like, his boxing is pretty minimalistic as well, actually, to be honest. It's kind of easy to just kind of plow through it. And if you're going to get taken down repetitively, like, that's a big problem. He needs to get with a coach, or his coaches need to really, really, really fixate on working on takedown defense, working on a counter punching game. Also, this is weird. Was this the first fight card in like forever that had multiple South Africans on it? Because we had Dricus du Plessis and now we have Cameron Simon. Because I mean, to be honest, like at no point in the UFC's history do I think you have more than like maybe like 5 or 6 South Africans in the promotion. Period. And I don't recall them ever going to South Africa. So there wouldn't have been a time to stack the card. Although they did sign Juan Potts. Did they go to did they go to South Africa and that was why Juan Potts got signed? Because I always remember the Juan Potts signing was just really, really, really weird. No, his fights were in Cincinnati, Los Angeles, and Sacramento. Okay. So I don't think that they have ever been to South Africa. So there wouldn't have been like a UFC 58 moment where like it's like every fight on this card has a Canadian in it sort of thing. Anyways, that was the fight card. To the left, to the right, below, up. I don't know where it is. Depends on where you're watching. There is a Linktree link. And that will tell you where you can find this podcast. And you can also find the Discord, Twitter, Facebook, my YouTube channels. Everything is there. And additionally, you can find a Discord link, which will take you to the Discord. Why do you want to go to the Discord? Well, that's simple. We have the MMA Simulator, Pro Wrestling Simulator, Slam Ball Simulator, which I'm running a round of tonight, and just a bunch of cool people to chat with. So if you want to have a look, you want to kind of experience kind of the MMA career mode through the lens of the simulator, please check it out. It's a good time. And I will see you guys on Thursday for the next UFC card.